Hi folks, welcome to the Prepared Homestead. This is Travis. Thank you all for stopping by to watch. It is very windy this morning. Hopefully the wind noise, these trees kind of protect it, isn't too bad this morning. I also had the little microphone on to kind of help block that. But man, we've been clocking in at like 40-mile-an-hour gust winds, and the storms aren't even here yet. Last night looked like some pretty serious large tornadoes tore through parts of central Oklahoma. Storms this morning, I think, up in the Kansas City area, and it's supposed to hit here this afternoon and this evening in other parts of the country. So it's kind of a weather alert day for a lot of you that are watching. Some of you have already experienced it, but certainly be on your toes for that. I say all the time, prepping isn't just for the apocalypse. It's also for just everyday occurrences that happen. And extreme weather is certainly one of those. I can guarantee you, in your lifetime, you will experience more everyday occurrence SHTFs like weather or, getting injured or something like that, then you will possibly the world coming to an end. So be ready for that, folks. Oh, this morning, I'm probably going to just be repeating myself. Some of you may just decide this isn't the video for you. You've heard this story before. You get off of this one. I mean, you're beating a dead horse here. I think it's important. And I'm speaking of the constant theme that I have been trying to push on this channel pretty much since I started making videos. And that is the very deep importance of being self-sufficient and having some form of tribe or community. I have noticed in the last at least couple of months, maybe further back, but at least the last couple of months or so, that there are more and more people, whether it be on YouTube, like YouTube channel folks, or just people in the media, economic experts, these financial gurus, news personalities, things like that, that are starting to get on the bandwagon too, and they're telling their people, you need to be growing gardens. You need to have some chickens. You need to form a community. You need to become self-sufficient. And I think the reason for that's pretty obvious. When you sit back and you look at everything that's going on, the totality of all of the rapid changes that are happening in our world, and add to that the complete and overt degradation of our society, where it's just falling apart. There's not really any other better option for people to do when it comes to getting ready for all this, being prepared, than to be self-sufficient and have as many of others that are like-minded, trusted people around you so that you can work together and survive through what's coming. This is extremely important. Just in the last couple of days, I've seen a few different people that, they're not preppers, they're not, doomsday people, they're not homestead people, and, they are saying the similar things. You need to grow a garden, you need to produce food, you need to find others around you, build a community of some sort, have a tribe. This is, the importance of it is probably greater than I can even describe, because of just how shocking in a lot of ways what is happening, how it's all playing out before our eyes. The stuff that we're seeing. I know that many of you, if not all of you, are starting to understand and realize just how much and how bad things are and how it's all kind of playing out. There's, the wars and the financial stuff and the morality stuff and the weather stuff, and it's just on and on and on and on. It's all happening. I was just yesterday talking to an older gentleman that lives in my area. He's not part of our tribe, just a good old fella. Lived here his whole life. In fact, told me he was born just a short distance from where we live. And I was talking to him, and he said, things are just getting out of control. It's just bad. He said the weather's just crazy. He said the temperatures and the rain and all the stuff going on. He said stuff that people are doing, it's just crazy. He said, I just don't know what to think. He said, it's like the whole world has just gone crazy overnight. And there's a lot of truth to that because, well, it has happened. I mean, that's exactly a good way to put it. The whole world's gone crazy, and it's happening pretty rapidly. The reason why myself and now many others, including, I've even seen folks that are like multi-millionaires and billionaires that are telling people you need to be producing your own food, plant a garden, have chickens, have others around you, preserve food, all this kind of stuff that you would never think to hear or would ever expect to hear from someone that's worth millions of dollars, that has the money to just, snap their finger and have all their preparedness needs taken care of. And they're telling people, yeah, you need to stock up and produce food. The reason why this is so important, it's pretty obvious. I don't even know that I have to say it, but I think that we are going through a monumental change of our world. This isn't just an American thing. I think so many times we get hung up on just the stuff happening here in the United States because, well, that's where most of us are from. I know there's a few of you watching from out of this country, but the most of the listeners are Americans. And so we get focused on what's going on in our own backyard and not so much of what's happening around the world and how it's probably all connected. And that's the thing, when you sit back and look at it, like I've said so many times, it's more than just a few crazy things that's happening. It's all over the world, and it's whether or not it's all being orchestrated or not. I think a lot of it is. I think it's showing just that we're in that time period of great change and great chaos and just things that are really out of our control. Must be something dead right over here, because when I come around that corner, about 12 to 15 big old vultures went flying up, big old buzzards. So I don't see or smell anything, but they were all over the area right about in there. Anyways, where was I? Lost track. I know that a lot of you, not all, but a lot of you probably get tired of it. Get tired of me saying it. Maybe because you're just tired of it. Maybe because you're doing the best that you think that you can. You're trying to produce as much food. You're trying to be as self-sufficient as possible. You're working really hard to try to connect with others, and you find that that's just difficult. It's hard to find people, and it is. It's taken, I don't want anyone to be jealous of the fact I talk about how, we have a little tribe. It's taken years to find that. It's taken years that I have been trying to make connections with others and build something. So it does. It's hard. Producing your own food, it's not going to be easy. And it's going to take a lot more than you think. some of you remember the time or two I've had my mother on the channel, and the reason why I bring it up is, although my mother is not ancient, she grew up very, very, very old-fashioned, even for her generation. She grew up in the mid-50s to the 60s, but if you listen to her childhood, you'd think that she grew up in the 1860s, how they lived. You know, no running water. You know, they did everything naturally, off the grid, just very rustic. And she had 10 siblings. Grandma and Grandpa had 10 kids. And I've asked her, you know, how much food did you guys produce to survive? Because they lived pretty much off of the food that they produced. And she said, well, you know, being a child, she says, I'm not sure I could tell you the exact amount. She said, but I remember we had massive gardens, and more than one. She said we would produce these huge, huge gardens. The whole family would go out and work in all of them. And they weren't producing these big gardens to sell. They were producing these big gardens so they could have their own food. They had cellars filled with canned goods, smokehouses filled with meats. This is what they had to do to survive. I've talked to other people that have, for the most part, lived off of the food that they produce. And they say the same thing, that, you know, a 10 by 20 foot garden is not enough to survive out of. And I'm not telling you this to discourage you that your little backyard garden isn't going to be enough. I'm saying this to encourage you that you need to push it a little bit more, step up your game. And be creative, kind of think outside of the box, do some research. There's small animals that you can raise that don't take up a lot of space. You know, if you're limited in your space, you can raise things like quail, rabbits if you eat them. You know, there are a few other animals that don't take up a lot of space, and so you can grow a lot of them. There are ways to grow food other than just the big open gardens. Ways to grow it in greenhouses or in your garage or in your kitchen, that you can produce a lot of food. And then look at things that produce that you get a lot of calories out of it. For instance, like per square foot of garden space. So potatoes is a big one. You can produce more calories per square foot with potatoes than just about any other plant. And so focus on things that produce a lot of calories per square foot. And that way you're optimizing your garden space to produce the most food. And there's all kinds of ways to grow things in containers and buckets and other things like that. So again, you're optimizing your space. Sometimes you have to grow up instead of out. So, you know, trellises and things like that, archways and stuff. This is all very important, and we need to be pushing ourselves to be able to do this more. Community also, pushing ourselves to find others. There's all sorts of methods out there online that you can find others. You may have to move. It just may be it. If this is something that's that important to you, to have some kind of tribe, you may have to find a different place to live. And if not, start your own. You know, start meetings, go to homeschool events, go to farmers markets, and just start talking to people. There's all kinds of possibilities of finding people that are like you so that you can connect. It's getting down to crunch time, no pun intended with my crunchy walk. we have to take these kind of things serious, because in the end, you're going to be hungry and you're going to need other people. I mean, those are some real basics there. And the self-sufficiency and the having others, a tribe, a community, is so important. I mean, there's a reason why so many other people are now coming out and saying, these are important things, this is what you need to do. You know, it's not about putting your money in this stock or that one. It's about taking care of the real stuff, food, supplies, your basic needs, and having others that you can work with to do those things. It's just the world that we live in, folks, and it's not going to get any better probably anytime too soon. So continue pushing forward with this. Figure out different ways to grow food. I think that that's a tough one, because most people that's listening, I would say, have never had to do that. You know, even if you've had little gardens in your backyard and stuff, you've never had to. We've been so many generations from when, as Americans, we pretty much had to live off of what we produced. And that's going to be hard for a lot of us to kind of wrap our heads around that and get used to that. But it is possible, so don't give up on that. And I mean, I say, whenever you think that you've done enough, you probably should do a little bit more. Because then there's always the failure rates and things that just happens. You know, you put out your garden, your tomato plants get growing good, and then a big hailstorm comes through and takes half of them out. You got to factor in that kind of stuff too. So I don't know, it's kind of, producing food's like owning ammunition. I don't know if you can have too much. So get out there and push yourselves when it comes to being self-sufficient, food production, and also connecting with others. I don't see any downside to it, and you'll probably thank me at some point in the future. Folks, get out there and get your houses in order. Prepare yourselves mentally, physically, and spiritually. Thank you for watching, and I'll catch you in the next video.